Hey, thanks for watching. If you're enjoying the content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. If you want me to play your deck on stream, feel free to reach out. Contact information in the description below. Also, I stream Legacy live almost every day at twitch.tv/Anzidmtg. So come by and say hi. It's time for some magic. Let's get to it. I'm gonna go tell. Okay, you guys can start.
Welcome back. So round 6.5. So it's just blue-red Delver against Grixis Control, or whatever you want to call it, Grixis Murktide. And once again, so loser's going to be in 5th place, and winner will be in the top 4. The other 3 competitors are already in the top 4. We might have to do everything by hand from here, so we might use more of this random number generator stuff just to make the last round pairing. But yeah, so more Magic though, so I think it's great for the viewers. Given the situation, everyone agreed that this was a good experience, and I think it's a good experience for everyone. So
Yeah,
know,
awesome. So let's get into the matchup here. It's
yeah.
going to be Delver against the other deck, which is Grixis Control, right? And I'm kind of curious about this. We've seen the Grixis Control deck a lot. I'm not going to show the deck list since we've seen it a lot. I think we're going to try to get in the match as fast as possible because
Get the bonus magic out there.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I think it's even ready if I do say so myself. So we'll just whoa, these aren't the right. Okay, cool. Now I have updated it. We're good to go. So this is an elimination match, and we have Ryan Winged Hussar on sad. Oh, it'll take some time. I guess it'll catch up. Never mind. Okay, it's not ready.
Someone played Dark Hole. Everything's dead.
Yeah, okay. When it comes up, it'll come up. I'm going to go back to us, and then we'll just hang out for a second. But we have Ryan on Delver, and we have Max on Grixis Control here, and I'm kind of curious to see who's going to come out ahead in this one. What are your thoughts on the matchup? We've seen both decks in action. One has days. Actually, both have days, but one is definitely lower to the ground, and the other one is, big boy with, like, 4 colors, if you really think about it.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting dynamic. I mean, at this point, they're playing a lot of the similar cards, kind of like the old Grixis Control versus Grixis Delver type of thing, where they overlap a lot of cards, but they're kind of trying to accomplish a few different things. So one important note is just how good Baleful Strix is. Baleful Strix is kind of just a 2-for-1 if it doesn't get addressed in a certain way, but if you can tempo it out through playing Murktide Regent and maybe even like a gut shot, like something very clean that's able to kill it, then it can be in the blue-red player's favor, where their mana base is a little more stable, they're a little bit more flexible, they're wastelands, they're not playing Urza Saga, so I'll be very interested in seeing how this develops, but I would just like to be on the play minimally to start. But
Yeah.
pretty awkward hand for Max here.
Agree. Max is on the play for what it's worth and has 1 colored source and then Urza Saga and Wasteland. So I'm not sure if this is one that you throw back here. Looks like Max is actually going to keep it and lead with Wasteland into Retrofitter Foundry. And if I'm in Ryan's side, I definitely smell red flags everywhere because this is such a weird, unorthodox play.
But you're still probably not going to Wasteland the Wasteland and probably just deploy your 1-drop, try to get out on board. Like, you know that they don't have one of the top hands in their range, so you kind of just want to punish them for needing to draw something. They don't know it's the Badlands, but it could just be a multiple Urza Saga hand or something weird.
Yeah. What's kind of interesting here is, oh, it looks like Ryan's sort of answering this question for us, but looking at the hand with Dragon's Rage Channeler, Delver of Secrets, and then multiple blue spells, Daze, Brainstorm, Expressive Iteration, what threat do you lead with? Ryan says Dragon's Rage Channeler. Do you agree with that conclusion?
Yeah, just get him dead.
Okay. Yeah, just get him dead. It's interesting, though, because I feel like the rate that Delver probably converts damage is going to be higher than the rate that, like, Dragon's Rage Channeler does, because flipping Delver a lot easier than just, like, getting Delirium, except when you draw Mishra's Bauble. Maybe that just changes the whole equation.
Well, the rate thing is kind of like an interesting sort of thing because you're viewing rate as just damage there, but it's not damage plus the amount of damage you're able to deal by seeing an amount of cards. So if you like get to see 5 more cards from playing a Dragon Rage Channeler or something very extreme from all the Surveil, then you end up in a spot where you're playing Murktide Regent sooner, and then you're going to have to like see the expected value of that happening, whereas you wouldn't have seen it if you just played Delver.
And you dropped the E phrase, expected value, and as soon as you said that, I was just like a little bit spooked out. But yeah, I see it.
Oh,
That
sorry.
you're right. I mean, in a vacuum, I guess that would kind of make sense. But like you're right. This game is a function or a factor of a lot of things coming together. So it's not just one decision over the other. And I think I also just too like the amount of like the value you get in selection can ultimately convert into like killing your opponent in a different
Right.
way or get him deading it. So I definitely see what you're saying here. Now, looking at the sequence, turn two Retrofitter Foundry here by Max Gilmore, and I should change that to a G. But what's interesting here is whether you choose to lead with the bobble or not, and that's where the sequencing becomes
Yep.
tricky because Dragon's Rage Channeler. Okay, I'm just gonna say this. I think it's one of the most complicated cards that's been printed in a long, long time. So playing it does have there are a lot of decisions that come with the card. This is one of them, for example, because I would have just slammed the Mishra's Bauble here. Looks like
Well, well, if you do it this way, you get to get the full razzle dazzle. So what you get to do is your brainstorm just needs to bin something that's not an instant. Then you
mhm.
just put back something that's not an instant, nor what you already surveilled on the first one to the graveyard. Then your bobble gets to mill the, say, a ponder or expressive iteration here. When you play the bobble, then you sack the bobble and you have delirium.
Okay. Wow. So that is actually really smart. And for anyone who is trying to like figure out like how to sequence your spells with Dragon's Rage Channeler to proc Delirium ASAP. Wait, hold on.
You can just cast the ponder if you wanted
Oh,
to
okay, okay.
also. Or you can do
Or
this and hope that you hit a sorcery.
double surveil, sure. But I really like what you had suggested. Okay, well, we hit creature, so that should do it. Okay, that should be
Yep.
fine.
Full
And
razzle
then
dazzle.
yeah. And then when the bauble goes to the graveyard, that'll be artifact, creature, instant land. But basically, the question is like, how do you optimize, you know, getting your 1/1 into a 3/3? Because when you see your opponent stumble, the first thing that you want to do is exactly what Jonathan's inclination was, which is to get him dead. So the sequencing here is kind of important, and I really like it. Also, cool that we put the Delver back into the deck because it's 2021 and Delver just not trending with the times anymore, even though the deck is called after
Its
court.
main advantage is being able to pitch the Force of Will now. So the blueness matters way more than it did before, so you don't mind playing less of them.
All right, so what you're saying is so long as the card is blue, it's okay, which means it could have been something like a soothsaying. Bring it back. What? I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Uh,
Take it back now, y'all.
hmm. Okay, there's the bauble, and I have to assume that from Max's side, you're just never allowed to fire off the. Oh, you're just never allowed to fire off this wasteland because your mana situation is so bad, and the wasteland that's in Ryan's hand right now looks really good because I mean, seems like a free win though. Retrofitter Foundry kind of can activate on colorless lands, but then you have Urza Saga, so you're trying to, make money moves there by having enough mana sources to make your constructs. And okay, drawing Volcanic Island, good.
Yeah, so one thing that's interesting is maybe you want to like play the saga to be able to try to get constructs out sooner, and you can like upgrade the servo into a thopter. It's just like an overall very slow plan, so you do have to play the blue source to try to find more blue sources just to get Murktide down. Murktide's really your trump here, especially in game one.
Okay.
I'm checking if the Delver deck plays Gutshot over Unholy Heat. Yeah, that's right. So they don't really have that clean of an answer. They can like 2-for-1 themselves if it's say like a 6/6 or smaller Murktide. Then when it ends up blocking a Dragon Rage Channeler, you can play a Lightning Bolt on it. I guess if it's small enough, you can play Gutshot on it. So that's kind of what Max is going for here.
Okay. Looks like pick up the volcanic. Okay, so we wasteland one mana source, and in the meantime, Ryan now has a copy of Force of Will. So you did when you said the blueness matters. It's not something willy nilly like that. But in this situation, I mean, the heat is really on, and top decking the Dragon's Rage Channeler is definitely terrifying because you have the wasteland now, and you have 9 points of power in the air. I mean, this game might just be over before it even starts.
Yeah, one thing that was interesting for me was that since you had all your mana up, expecting to activate Retrofit or Foundry on the previous turn. Since you know that your path kind of involves like resolving Murktide Regent and drawing blue sources, but like you have to brainstorm into the blue source and such. The question then becomes, do you just play Force of Will on the second Dragon Rage Channeler, or even the first or I guess it would have to be the second one, because you have mana up to play around days, so they can only force back.
Mm-hmm.
So that way you cut down the clock and buy yourself more time.
Yeah.
Or do you save the Force of Will so that way when you play Murktide Regent, you can hopefully have Force of Will up. The real question is how many cards you're able to get in the graveyard and how fast of a Murktide region it is.
Yeah, I think it's one of those like really unorthodox plays. Like sometimes force of willing a creature that you are so used or conditioned to, like your removal spells on. It's not an obvious play, right? So perhaps that was correct to do in the moment. It's really, really hard to say because, well, quite frankly, it's not a play that happens often for a reason, right? Because it's not a
Mhm.
good play. It's not a great play. But in this situation, it might be the right play. Now we're going to see the Dragon's Rage Challengers coming to the red zone and no blocks, going down to 11, but turning the Thopter token into, or other way around, turning the Serva into a Thopter. So now we have a 1/1 flyer. It does kind of impact combat math. And I guess so the hope here is now that we're going to be able to resolve Murktide to block.
Yeah, the problem is it's a pretty baby Murktide.
Hmm.
Um, But keeping the expressive iteration hand, so that there was some consideration that you could just burn the expressive iteration that we could get the Murktide one bigger. So then it plays around gut shot that way, having a 4/4 versus a 5/5. But then you just don't have force of will. So kind of announcing like, hey, I really need this force of will backup. But the problem is you're especially just drawing to lightning bolt. So what the full plan is that you can block this turn with the 1/1, use the retrofitter foundry to upgrade it. Then next turn you hope to draw Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt one of the Dragon Rage Channelers, and then play Murktide Regent as a 5/5. And then yeah, that's yep. Yeah, that would work, assuming there's no force of will, but
Yeah.
you're leaving up your force of will. Then no lightning bolt and all this other stuff. But I do think it's a plan.
Okay. Yeah, Ponder here looked so threatening on the stack with like the triple surveil trigger that was also there. It's just like the value. But it's like we milled one card and then kept the other one. Ponder resolves, and it actually picks up a wasteland here, which I have to imagine is going to be enough to sort of just close out the game. Just cut off whatever last sort of outs that Max might have here. I mean, Murktide Regent looks like the only thing that does anything here. So, like, that is already checked by the days. But on top of that, Ryan has a Force of Will. So, it looks like a wrap to me. I'm not really sure if there are other outs here, but I do like that Max is fetching anyways, saying, hey, I need to not draw this Volcanic Island. So, put it into play. And I don't think Expressive Iteration is going to get us out of this one.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, and Max agrees. So, let's take a look at the decks here. I think I have this set up properly. If I don't, then I don't. But I do. Let's go. All right.
That's not
So,
elementals.
talk to me about sideboarding here from the Grixis control side because I feel like Delver has been talked to death, and you know what? We're gonna talk about Grixis control now.
Yeah, so you can try to be a little bit more leaner. So your blast effects are pretty good. Hydroblast helps answer both Ragavan and DRC, and then you have your other blast effects to answer Murktide Regent. You can also potentially bring in Thoughtseize if you wanted to, so that's like kind of an interesting dynamic if you think that it's going to be a more controlling game where both the information and being able to figure out how to use your counter spells optimally becomes better. Another philosophy is like maybe I could board out all my Force of Wills or some amount of them and then have Thoughtseize be able to take the really good threats. So if we're just trading pound for pound, it's a little bit better for me. The problem is the cards like Ragavan and Murktide Regent are just so impactful, but that I feel like we might just live in a world where you have to leave in like most of your Force of Wills anyways. So it's kind of interesting, but a lot of the like Soul God Lantern isn't fantastic. Like maybe you can turn off a Delirium in a very cheeky way.
Okay.
Um, Spellbomb's like fine because you can bounce Murktide Regent. So a couple different options, and I'll be curious to see what Max does.
Yeah. There's about a minute left in sideboarding as Max is sort of routing out decisions here, and same with Ryan. But I have a question. How do you feel about a card like Plague Engineer in this matchup, given that Delver of Secrets can attack in the air, Dragon's Rage Channeler can attack in the air, but baseline, all of these cards are 1/1s before they actually, grow to greatness, and that's where Plague Engineer definitely shines.
So I think that's kind of the nod to like main decking Baleful Strix. If you don't have Baleful Strix in your deck, I think it might be okay to bring in Plague Engineer on the play, but since you have Strix, like you don't care whether they're young or they're grown up. You can just get into a combat with it with your Baleful Strix, and that kind of is pseudo more removal spells.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that a lot. That's I guess okay. So that means that you that also keeping in mind that like Plague Engineer, it's like a 3-mana spell, which is
Yep.
very clunky in the context of both Wasteland and Daze when you're
And
not
not
playing.
blue.
Yeah, yeah. Wait, is not blue? Oh, Forcible. Okay, cool. Do you actually think Max is going to keep Forcible in his deck post board? I feel like as the bigger deck, there's like a heuristic generally where you slim down on the 2-for-1s from your side.
People say that, but I think it could be possible that we're in an era or a deck configuration where, since you have Baleful Strix that is a 2-for-1, then maybe you can just focus on the key cards that matter and then actually keep in your Force of Wills.
Okay.
I'd be more curious what happens on the draw. Since your Dazes are a little bit better on the play, you're probably just fine to board out some, if not all, your Force of Wills, and you have all these 1-mana spells, but we see some disagreement there, so pretty much taking the line that you said, we saw a Plague Engineer in that first 7 for Max. So maybe just take advantage of being on the play, like you mentioned, just being able to kill some of the 1/1s before they grow up. I understand that.
Yep. And just as a heads up for anybody who is watching right now, the card on the leftmost side of Ryan's hand is a Lightning Bolt. So the hand is 1, 2, 3, 4 lands, a Brainstorm, a Daze, and a Lightning Bolt. And yeah, that's kind of, I mean, medium hand in the matchup, if I'm completely honest, but you got a Brainstorm, so it's probably just an insane hand. On the other side, we have Baleful Strix, Red Blast, Ponder, all great cards, and then Urza's Saga, a land spell, and then more lands to just cast a.
A card's cut off on Max's hand, but
Oh, card is cut off on Max's hand too. That sounds about right, actually. Let me see if I can. Oh, yeah, it's okay, cool. So there's yeah, it'll be fixed eventually, but
classic.
okay, we're gonna put this like this so that now, even if anything changes, dang. Okay, yeah. So it is a mulligan to 6, though. You're right. So there's a card that's somewhere there, and I don't know what it is. We'll find out
So,
together.
yeah, that's fine. So one thing that's interesting or cool is that, do you run out your Baleful Strix on turn 2? It runs into a Daze that way, and you are a mulligan, so the tempo might not matter as much. Like, it's kind of an interesting decision. Is that a Hydroblast? That's like an art I haven't seen before.
Yeah, it's a Hydroblast.
Okay,
I think it's like one of the Master Set Hydroblasts.
got it.
Yeah,
So
good old
so I
Pauper reprint.
yeah, I think what you're allowed to do is you could just leave up your Power Blast and play a Strix when it plays around Daze.
Okay, so Delver is the draw step here, which is not bad. I mean, this hand was kind of lacking aggression here, so leading with a Brainstorm. Okay, and I
I
love
like
this
blasting
play.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so often in the power blue decks, you're actually priced into keeping a lot of mopey hands that rely on one card, especially Brainstorm, just like making everything better. So yeah, I like
Mhm.
snapping that off as soon as possible.
Yep. Also being able to hold up Hydroblast. I mean, I'll be real with you. Like early Brainstorms, I don't counter nearly as often. But in this situation, Max is getting aggressive, saying, "Hey, I've got Baleful Strix on Baleful Strix, and if I can resolve these cards, put you as somewhere behind." Because let's be real here, Baleful Strix is a really
Mhm.
big problem for Delver once it has entered play, because you really don't want to get into that play pattern of like bolting
Baleful
birds or
Strix.
blasting birds.
Love that card.
Yeah, and there's a second one in the hand there too. So okay, so that was the mystery card that we didn't know about.
So
Um,
so a major reason to play Red Elemental Blast is that they did nothing on turn 1 in their heavy 1-drop deck. So you know that they, on average, kept a more mopey hand, even though it was a 7. Like, who snap keeps your your Delver hand without a 1-drop? It just
yeah,
doesn't make sense.
no
So
ponder. I mean, it could be like Pyroblast being held up, but I feel like a hand that Delver keeps that is predicated on like holding a Pyroblast on turn 1 is like mediocre.
yeah, and this is exactly what I was saying, and why Baleful Strix is one of my favorite cards in Legacy. It's just it just drew a card and 8 that got shot, and then another Strix is gonna come down, and you're like, oh my god, I just gotta deal with all these things. Like, get out of the
And
way, and Cold Gun's command to get it back. So
good
I'm
shot.
excited.
Oh, I just love it. I mean, we saw Ryan board this in against Olorin earlier as well. So here, I think it's also kind of interesting, and we're gonna draw
I think they
Pyroblast off
main
the
deck
Baleful.
it.
What's up?
They main deck 2 of them.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a main deck
It's
card.
over
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
like Unholy Heat or whatever flexible other
Gotcha.
removal spell you play.
Gotcha. And that must be like a trendy, what is it called? Concession to Ragavan and the Blue Red Mirror.
Yep.
Arguably, though, in this event, there wasn't that much Delver, which is cool, but also kind of not cool. I'm glad that we have it, but I'm also like, you guys
Yeah,
understand.
in small doses.
Yeah, exactly. So here seems like now that the second Baleful Strix is in play, ooh, the ramifications of this Pyroblast on Brainstorm are kind of showing themselves, right? Because as a Delver
Mhm.
player, one thing that's really important is to extract every single ounce of value out of your cards. And yeah, you do have expressive iteration, but check out the steam vents and the volcanic island stuck in the hand, right? What's
Yeah,
going to happen to these cards? It feels like the best case would be to brainstorm them back,
exactly.
but you don't really want to commit them to play, right? And that's what seems like is going to happen if we never find the brainstorm off of like cards like expressive iteration or the top of our deck or so on and so forth.
Right, like, as a Delver deck, you spend more time, I guess you could say, filtering your cards, but, like, on turn 10, you probably have a quantity of 10 cards. You don't have that many +1s other than, like, expressive iteration, or if you play, like, Baleful Strix or some other sort of way to get ahead, or you could, like, Ragavan, hit a card and play one for free, but on average, it's just your card selection's very good, but not your quantity of cards, and
Yep.
then when you run into either variants, but heroes actually induced by Max, like, by the countering of the Brainstorm, you just run into
Commendable.
spots where, like, your cards are just worse.
Okay, so it looks like expressive iteration is going to resolve. Pyroblast is going to get uh
Exile?
dazed. Yep,
Oh,
yep.
yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
what's the exile card? I guess we'll see, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're about to find out. I no longer in the exile, I can tell from like the real. So production, haha, is telling me that it's no longer exiled a minute into the future, which means we'll probably see it come into play here. Okay, so it looks like it's a
Oh, it's a
brainstorm.
Brainstorm,
Yeah,
okay.
which is the perfect hit, quite honestly.
Oh,
Although,
well, actually, the perfect hit is also that fetch land off the Brainstorm, but playing the land first. So, open deck list. Max has 2 dazes in their deck,
whew,
and because of the 2 dazes, play the land first. But
okay.
you gotta ask yourself sometimes, like, what's the best case scenario? How far behind am I and stuff? So, I respect it, like playing around days to the end type of thing, but it comes with a real cost. As I
There's the
mentioned
punish
with,
right there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like as I mentioned with Jeff earlier, it's just like these things don't happen for free. You're actually making trade-offs every time you do it.
Did I miss something? What happened to the lightning bolt? There was a lightning bolt, right?
Uh, the Lightning Bolt got Hydroblast on the
Okay,
end step.
gotcha. Yeah, yeah, okay, gotcha. So then here, I like this attack. Then that makes a lot of sense. You can't go over it. You can't go under it. So you got to just go right through it. And Delver attacks Baleful Strix blocks, and now you have an opportunity to continue developing your board. And honestly, from this position, I think Ryan's situation is even decent. Like decent to maybe even ahead. I mean, you've got expressive iteration in the back, 2 threats in the front, and your creature has delirium too. So of course, as soon as I say that, we find the third bird,
Mhm.
caca, and Max is pretty happy with this, I'd imagine.
Yeah, so pretty interesting decision there, but since you're probably just tapping out here and you want to resolve the Ragavan, it makes sense that like one of the cards you put back doesn't matter because your Strix is resolving almost like literally all the time because if they play Force of Will, you just daze it. And then yeah, so just redeploying here, and you actually want the Dragon Rage Channeler to attack because then you get to trade with the Strix, and then if they have nothing to block the Ragavan, then you get to start getting in there.
Yeah, and thanks to Delirium, the Dragon's Rage Channeler actually has to attack, which means this Baleful Strix is like, I guess, I don't know. I don't think birds can like lip their licks. Lip, did I just say? I don't know what I just said. Lick their lips. There we go. Boom. I was gonna get through it one way or another. It was otherwise, it'd just be whatever. But the flesh rending beak here is definitely gonna connect with Dragon's Rage Channeler unless Brian's able to find something like another gut shot, a pyroblast, some sort of actual factual removal spell. And this is a question that I was really interested in about was that Max actually chose to keep the days at this stage of the game here. And I have to wonder why he did that, right? Because
Well, he didn't shuffle, right? He just played Brainstorm, I thought.
I thought
Like,
there was a brainstorm. Like we knew a couple of the cards, so we could have maybe pondered it away, like with the
uh,
shuffle off ponder.
is that what happened? I thought last time we played Brainstorm, then played Baleful Strix and Ragavan, our next card's the other Brainstorm.
There's a brainstorm on top, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So instead of
exactly.
playing the Ragavan, you could have like pondered away the days if it's not relevant
Oh, I
here.
think
But
the days is still good enough.
okay,
Like you
yeah,
have a brainstorm on top, so like if you ever get to convert the days or just like tax in some sort of way or whatever, then you like have the brainstorm to put it back too.
sure. Check it out here. Yeah, look, you were right. Daze is actually good in this situation. It's going to be able to counter the lightning bolt here, which means the Dragon's Rage Channeler no longer has free passage. We'll trade with the 1/1. And what's also kind of interesting to me.
Well, Ryan like wanted this or minimally chose for this to happen by not playing the land for the turn, right?
Exactly, right? So it's multifold because I think in the turn before we saw Ryan play around Daze with the brainstorm, and on this turn we see Ryan not play around Daze. So that kind of makes me wonder. I guess if your land drop is Caracas, you can't really play around days to much of an extent if your priority is to stop the monkey.
Well, it's like kind of interesting. So if you play the Crocus, some percentage of the time they might not play the days at all, and then you still get to make like you get to then connect with your Dragon Rage Channeler and still bounce the monkey.
Okay. Yeah.
So like you could view it some amount as like, oh, I want to hide the information, but maybe it's actually the other way around that like you could have gotten away with it.
I just read your message, Toast. Hi.
Yep.
But yeah, okay. So continuing on here, Ragavan does get bounced back to the hand, and I love this. Brainstorm it away, Polluted Delta, Retrofitter Foundry. Really seems like Max's deck is moving in all sorts of desirable fashions here. Um,
Yeah,
being
we get
said,
to see the so Max Mulligan this game, right?
yeah, it's on the play as well, so he's technically
and
down a lot of
and
cards.
played 3 Baleful Strixes and has 2 cards in hand. So, in essence, is up 2 cards even if they kept 7 or whatever, just because they played Baleful Strix and all of them traded for stuff.
I really have to imagine that because Max Pyroblasted the Brainstorm as early as like turn 2 or whatever, still in the game, like is doing
Yeah.
well. Or maybe it was, yeah, it was turn 2, right? Yeah,
Yeah, it's
something like
turn
that.
2.
Yeah. This is a really good decision here. Expressive Iteration at the top, very good for Max, but it's both blue and red, which means Hydro Blast is going to say nope.
But Hydroblast is also blue, so we have
Cha-ching.
this red
So
one.
the I like to visualize this, like this screenshot exactly as like sort of like the inbreadiness of the meta kind of deal. Because every time Hydroblast is playable, I feel like something's going wrong, but that's a conversation for later. But you know, it's going to turn out the expressive iteration does resolve. Max gets it all and might be making 4/4s as soon as next turn.
Mhm. Yeah, so the Delver's looking to beat down. If it's land to hand, that's probably land to exile, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's a wasteland, okay.
Yep.
So, your future Ragavans are a little bit better.
Oh, and check this out. Electing not to use the wasteland, saying maybe I'll just use this mana for Retrofitter Foundry this turn because well, I guess that makes sense, right? Because if you don't have Ragavan,
There it is.
the Caracas doesn't matter. Yeah, 4 of a kind, right?
Yeah.
And if you do have Ragavan, well, I mean, Wastelanding the Volcanic Islands isn't really impactful. And if you do have Ragavan, you can just Wasteland later. You're not priced into Wastelanding right now. So I think I like this decision by Max. Yeah.
It's interesting. I don't know if I would do the same thing, but I definitely understand it. Well,
Mhm.
it only costs 1 mana to upgrade this to a Thopter, so you're
Right.
able to just, like, leave that up for free.
Gotcha. 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 Okay. So we're looking at uh, Ponder. Delver has flipped, which is a good card to draw here. Only Volcanic Island in the hand. And I don't think that's information that Max is particularly aware of just yet. Murktide
Ooh,
region is spooky.
don't worry, there's Baleful Strix.
I know, right? These baleful Strixen have really just come in clutch, and I can't tell you if Max has kept in Kolagon's command in this matchup. I mean, the
Oh,
shock buyback of
I'm
creatures
I'm
seems like
pretty sure.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
well, in that sort of situation, if that's the case, then I think having to play against 5 baleful Strixen in one match would just be like probably not a record or anything like that.
There's 2 Kolaghan's commands in Max's list. It could be 6.
Okay, well, it looks like pre-roll ads are disabled for 47 minutes, so that's awesome. Um, But yeah, we're going to upgrade this servo into a Thopter that can fly, which is good for combat damage related reasons. There's the Urza Saga. And now we're chefing. We're cooking in the kitchen here because we get to finally fight back here. We've stalled long enough. We've done what we need to do. Baleful Strike's going to come into play. Let's see what it draws. Monkey? A Brainstorm. Okay, that's
Better.
respectable.
It's better than Monkey.
Yeah, I agree. Ooh, oh, there's the Plague Engineer. Okay, so it did come in.
Yep. Yeah, it was in the first 7 card hand that Max
Oh,
had.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah. One that got Mulligan back. Sure, sure, sure. Okay, so Brainstorm probably gonna definitely gonna keep the Urza Saga. Um,
It's a pretty interesting one.
I agree. This Plague Engineer does not seem very appetizing, if I'm very honest with you.
So it's yeah, like it doesn't stop. It only stops future Delvers or Ragavans, I
Right, because
think.
there are 4 creature types in the graveyard right now. I see Delver of Secrets in the graveyard. I see Gragon's Rage Channeler in the graveyard, and then I see Land Instant Sorcery. Well, yeah, okay, so that's what I was saying. Like you wasteland the Caracas once you know you have
Yeah,
Ragavan. Otherwise, you keep it as a resource.
yeah. Then you could just play the Saga Ragavan and play your own days, and then you can still upgrade for free. It's
Mm-hmm.
just tap on Retrofit or Foundry to turn the 1/1 flyer into a 4/4.
Yep. Really good stuff going on here. I mean, this is both players trying to keep it as back and forth as possible here. But now I will say, as the game is extended on forward, I mean, drawing a four of a kind, especially of your one of your best cards in the matchup, should put you in a favorable position. And I think that that is exactly what Max has earned here. And also, now that I think about it, it's four Baleful Strix, four Expressive Iteration. So there's a lot of like grindy card advantage in this
Yep.
list.
Yeah, just a lot of +1s, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
So pretty important draw step for Ryan here. So the Ponder on the previous turn got, I think it just shuffled or something like that. I don't really remember.
Might be the case here. Upkeep on. Wait a second. We Hydro Blasted. We drew Murktide for the turn. Okay, yeah. So I think this is just a blind draw going on. So there shouldn't be any real knowledge of it. And I think in the dark, you just don't. You don't shuffle unless
Or
like.
did we shuffle? I don't really remember. So I think we pondered and maybe we kept the Murktide off of it. I don't remember.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Actually, I forgot that card's in exile. So maybe the Ponder is in the graveyard here. But oh, looks like Gut Shot's the draw,
Wow.
baby.
The
Wow. Yeah,
second gut
indeed.
shot. All right, so Strix got nothing on that. So you get to serve in, and then all of a sudden, tables have turned. Max is
Yeah. Right.
back against the wall. So, you know, shot through the gut, and it wasn't too late.
Nice. But the Doctor token is going to be able to fade one attack step from the Murktide region. So we can see here,
Yep.
it's going to go to blocks. It's going to get sacrificed. It's going to become a 4/4. Now, wow, looks like a.
The next card should be a Ponder from the Brainstorm, I think. Oh no, it was a land. Oh, okay. I
Yeah, okay, there you
miscounted.
go. Yeah. So do you have enough mana here to do more shenanigans? So it would cost 2 mana to create a servo, 3 mana to untap, and then 1 mana to convert the servo into a Thopter, which you can use to fog the Murktide. So that's 6 mana total. Now I've done my homework. Let's go back and we see how much mana does Max have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Plus from the token. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. It looks like the Ragavan did not actually convert into anything meaningful. So this game is close. This game is close. I mean, Ryan's a champ here. He's tanked through 4 Baleful Strix, and then on the other side, now we're getting to the stage where Retrofitter Foundry is slowly taking over the game. So it's kind of exciting. I was not expecting it to be like this, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely a pretty interesting one. So if you fog the Murktide and Ryan blanks this turn, and then you attack back, and then you're able to fog the Murktide again, because once again you did your math. It was 6 mana to do it all to be able to make the Thopter.
Mm-hmm.
So then you go to 1 as max, and then it's game over because you're able to attack on the turn after that. So very important draw step for Ryan, but Ryan might even have to pump, like, you can't pump the brakes this turn, but it gets like pretty dicey.
Yeah. Now, one thing that's really important too is that this Murktide region is an 8/8. Okay, so we are going to end step fetch. I don't know if it's deck thinning or if we're just shuffling from the manipulation that we knew about previously. Dash Ragavan is better than a Deathrite Shaman. I said it. Fight me. Punching bags, punching words, fighting words, things that are happening. Wow. Okay.
So the third card, if they kept from the Ponder and played Murktide and then drew the Gut Shot afterwards, the third card was already cleared by Ragavan.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, this is kind of big money here. I mean, it looks like Max is just priced into making the 1/1 unless you die to the Murktide region. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You don't even have to fetch with the Scalding Tarn thanks to the treasure token. However, one thing that you will have to, well, actually, maybe you are supposed to do it.
What,
I don't know, because then you go down
dashing?
to 1, right? 3, 2, and 1. What's up?
Maybe you're supposed to do what? Dash?
No, fetch this with the Scalding Tarn to make the Thopter token to block.
I don't think you're allowed to. So like in the
Okay.
previous scenario where there was no Ragavan, if you make the Thopter token with it, then you go to 6, and then you go to 3 from the Delver, and then 3 from the Delver the next turn.
Okay. Gotcha. So weird stuff going on here. But yeah, this seems like a play that Max is not happy to take, but will have to take.
Yep. So a little bit more back against the wall, but on the bright side for Max, I guess fetching is fine here since since the Ragavan entered the equation, then just everything's lethal at that point. So I get it. So now you get to save the treasure, which is what you were talking about before, which is a little bit different than the line over 2 turns. So after Max makes this play, you get into an interesting spot where you kind of need to make another blocker, and you're hoping you can find maybe like a bolt effect for the Insectile Aberration. Then you might have to leave back your 4/4 or Ragavan to block their Dash Ragavan.
It's a lot. It's not a situation that looks really good here for Max. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of crazy, right? 4 draws, 4 entire Baleful
Oh,
Strixen
wait, wait,
drawn.
wait. I just
What's up?
realized something.
Hit me.
The Saga's gonna go off and get to find Aether Spellbomb, which can bounce a
Ah,
Murktide
okay.
region.
That's good.
So you can bounce the region and you can make another 1/1 flyer or you can flip those if you wanted to, but
Okay. Whoa. Whoa. Oh, that's so tragic. So Ponder gonna be picked up here off the monkey. Max Distortion at 1. And now you just gotta fade the burn spell. I mean, you're so close.
oh, there it is.
All right, lightning bolt. Looks like Murktide, Ragavan wins again. Days, all this sort of stuff. Not surprised though. The deck is just so good, so powerful, and this is why, right? Like you just have such good draws at like all stages of the game. I mean, I'm not surprised at all here. But okay, cool. So as a recap, that was our elimination match. Now we are going to go into our quote top 4, and we'll be right back as we sort of figure this out. I'm gonna see if I can get this done through MTG Melee just so that it's like
Random number
easier.
generator.
Hey, yeah. Well, I gotta figure out like standings and stuff like that too. But yeah, random time was kind of cool. I don't know. Do you watch Bayonetta? Like which time? You know what I'm talking about? No,
No,
not
I know,
have you
but
played it
it's
rather?
okay.
But yeah, cool. All right. Well, we're gonna transition. We'll be back. I'm gonna go handle this. But congratulations to Ryan, sort of like slogging it out. Played an extra match, still had it all, still won. Not sweating at this point. So now we have 4 players left, and we've got Jarvis on lands, Wombo Combo on Karn Forge. We have Ryan on Delver, and then we have one more player who is yes, Jim Panhango on Doomsday. So very competitive set of
Diverse.
decks here.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty diverse, right? Most notably, I think that the Urza Echo or Abzan Planeswalker deck, if you will, is the anomaly. But Wombo did actually has been playing this deck for at least a week, I know, and has been doing well with it. So might be able to take it down. We'll be right back. All right, we'll see you guys in just a sec.